Hi everyone. Sorry it's been a minute since I've recorded. Summertime is super hectic around here, and especially with a toddler, a very active toddler that I'm home with a lot. So I am getting to the nettle harvest, and then everything's super behind. It's just the way of this year. So the nettles are in full flower, which those of you who have been around for a long time know that I harvest them in full flower. And that is because of many reasons that I'll get into. The springtime baby little tiny nettles are excellent for eating because they're tender. So you can blanch them or cook them on pizza, cook them in soups, cook them where you would cook some spinach, like you can just add the nettles in as you would add spinach when you're cooking. And they're super tender to your mouth. So you're getting the vitamins and minerals for sure. Some chlorophyll, although I believe from my experience, like it's way more concentrated in chlorophyll, again, as the plant goes through the growing season and goes into flower just before it goes to seed. And that is completely unconventional herbalism practice, and it's just because my experience has told me that that's the best way and the best time to work with stinging nettles. I've seen medicine come from the tiny spring herbs, and it is see-through green in a big gallon jar, right? So a lot of liquid in a gallon jar. And when I started processing and making tincture with the nettles that have gone to flower, you cannot see anything through a gallon jar. It is black green, it is gorgeous, and it stains the jar. I have to run super high acidic vinegar through it pretty much straight to get the chlorophyll and whatever else is left on the jar that stains the jar to get it to leave. So that's how I have to clean the nettle tincture. And I find that to be a clear indicator of a powerful, potent, rich medicine. And again, that just comes from close to 20 years of playing with herbs and doing it the way the books say, and then doing it the way my intuition says. And I love books. I have tons of them, and your intuition is correct. Regurgitating information is one thing, but this is why getting these herbs in your own garden is going to be even more powerful than listening to me. Because that is going to give you the true and honest perspective of your intuitive body. And some people might not need that much chlorophyll, and that's okay. I also like to make my nettle pesto, even though it's been years until this year. I'm gonna be honest here, of course, as I am with you guys. I like to make my nettle pesto now out of this stage of growth from the nettles when it has gone to flower, not quite to seed. The seed does have its own profile, and we'll get into that in a minute, but the pesto, again, you put it in a food processor, you don't need to chew it in your mouth, and so do you really need the palatability of the teeny tiny herb? I don't think so. So it's a nice overcast day, so I'm trying to make it so I don't disappear. Yeah, so I love the nettle pesto from this flowered, almost to seed, not quite, maybe half of it is to seed, half of it's not. That's when I like to make pesto out of it, because then again, you're getting that richness that comes from a later growth, from a lot of energy coming up into the plant, and an enhanced an enhanced version of all of the constituents that nettles have to offer. Nettles are used, I love nettles. People think I'm bananas crazy when I say I have like 3 or 4 patches in my garden. But again, I don't think those people know me very well, and that's fine. They get to know me pretty well when they realize I have nettles in my garden. And what I've noticed, the original patch that I grew, that I planted, and then what I've root divided, and I do take a lot. I only leave like probably, I don't know, it's not even a quarter. I probably leave an eighth of the patch to go to seed, and then I stomp that over at the end of the season. So I do not leave a lot. It's a perennial. It's super easy to grow. You can chop it all the way to the ground, not traumatize it when it's in your garden. And then of course the regular waterings are super helpful, but I do leave like a patch, and I sometimes get 3 cuttings off that. This year I anticipate 2, but we'll see what happens. I might just leave it because it's been a weird spring. But I don't leave a lot because it does not aggressively take over a garden. Okay. So I have mine like tucked in the very north corner in the shade garden. So it's not in full sun. It does not like full sun. And I think keeping it on the north side of the shade garden keeps it even more in control. If you have a creek bed, it will go crazy. It does like its feet wet. In the forest where it's marshy and, sloppy along a creek, maybe where there's a little wetland, it loves that spot. So it does like its feet wet, but it'll grow just fine in a garden without, with regular waterings. And it does not spread super aggressively. So this patch that is 5 years old, 6 years old now, 5, 6, somewhere in there. It has maybe expanded by a foot in either direction. That's really chill. It has not gone crazy. And then another patch that is more with the valerian, and there's some grass around it and some other herbs. It's grown even less. It's the same age. So I think if it has its own space, and I probably have 20 feet of it, and it does not take over. So you can have this powerful medicine in your garden and not worry about it is in its own space for sure, but it's not going to like overrun your garden, like say anywhere near raspberries or even say dandelions. So yeah, and maybe that's a better way to explain it. I probably left the width of so I have a 20 by 4 foot patch, and I have left to go to seed to then be stomped over again later in the season when it's fully seeded. I've left probably a foot by 4, so 1 foot of the 20, and I'll spread those seeds, and if I want to expand it, I'll expand it, but we'll see what happens this year. And I'm really tired, so if my energy is not there, I know that, but I needed to film this because I was doing the harvest and it makes most sense. Sawyer he's been sleeping on my head from like 3 o'clock on, and because I'm 7 months pregnant, I'm just in that slightly insomniac phase, and so I'm tired today. But we're gonna continue on, it's fine. So let's talk about the profile of the stinging nettles. It is a very dynamic herb. I like that word. It's a dynamic herb. There are so many ways to use it, to work with it, to ingest it, to benefit from what it has to offer. And so identifying nettles is super easy. And the leaves are always alternating. They're big, broad, oblong shape. They have super deep lacerations in the leaves, and it can grow up to like 8 feet tall. I've seen it taller in like the Pacific Northwest, but there's a leaf. So it's pretty, and they kind of sit like this off the plant. And the flower makes it super easy too. It's tassels, right? So we have tassels, that's its flower. It's a very masculine plant. It's associated with Mars, but we'll get into that in a minute. So it's easy to identify, and again, I told you its growing conditions where it likes to grow. And yeah, it's an awesome plant. And I highly encourage everybody to use it and work with it. So, you can eat it. I've explained there's lots of recipes out there. I don't have my own pesto. I just go on Pinterest and I find the cutest herbalist that I can and go with that. And the pesto is my favorite way to eat it. Then you can, like I said, you get more out of the chemical constituents as you let the flower happen, as you go through the early growing season. And that is great for your health and the health of your family. And that's how I like to eat it the most. You can make all sorts of medicine with it. I make a huge batch of vinegar, extract. You can make a tincture, dry some herb for tea. And again, I do recommend all of these to be harvested when the plant is in flower. Have I said that enough? Probably, but I'm going to keep saying it. So, yeah. It's best to have a diversity in your medicine intake of this plant too, because you do get some stuff out of here and some stuff out of there, depending on the menstruum or the modality that you're working with nettles in. And I usually am more drawn to vinegar because I love getting that concentrated vitamin and mineral content. That vinegar is extremely effective in extracting from plant material, especially fresh plant material. And let me back up again. Fresh is key for the chlorophyll. It's key for the concentration of vitamins and minerals. It is key for the vibrational expression of your plant. And that is because you're getting the fresh waters of the stinging nettles. And that is so important, you guys. I've been talking about water because I've been listening to Veda Austin a lot over the past couple of years, but then my course that I'm in right now, Tom Cowan's practitioner course, our water and ingesting water of fresh plants and healthy animals, I feel might be the most important component of our health. And I'm not going to get into that too much, but I think that's why I have been told by the ethereal realm around us, the subtle realm, especially of the plant realm, that fresh is key. That has been so obvious for me, wild harvesting, growing plants, harvesting, making medicine, that fresh for our extracts, for our fermented stuff, for our food, is so incredibly important. And it's because of that water and the vibration that the plant brings. So, fresh plant material into vinegar, chop it up into 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch-ish pieces, and shake that jar weekly at minimum. A couple times a week would be great. And the vinegar is just really good at extracting those water-soluble nutrients, and then, of course, the waters that are coming from the plant are going in as well. There is some chlorophyll because I have experimented with this with some of my clients. I made the vinegar extracts for a vitamin, like a multivitamin. The test is like $3,500, so I have not had it tested yet, but one day when Enchantment Creek grows beyond what it is now, and I can just willy-nilly do some testing like that, I will do it, and I'm confident that it will be able to replace and be more nourishing than any other kind of vitamin. And You know, you're getting the benefits from the vinegar, but you're also getting the benefits from the fresh plant material. And I've paired other plants with the nettles. It's not only nettles. But because vinegar is such an excellent menstruum at extracting these water solubles, you're getting a concentration of it. There's a slight like fermentation action happening in that menstruum as it sits for weeks and weeks and weeks, 8 to 10 in my apothecary. And that is getting so much benefit in your body already. So for the vinegar, very focused on nourishment, very focused on the fresh waters, the fresh plant material that it has to offer. Somewhat, let me get back to the chlorophyll thing, somewhat chlorophyll rich, but not as much as the tincture, just because I can see that in the finished product. But the benefit that I have seen with my clients in the detoxification process, specifically related to seasonal allergies, has been profound. And I never applied it that way. I just had a couple of clients who were like, hey, I started taking this nettle vinegar and my seasonal allergies are no longer an issue. And granted, these people are eating well, they are active, they are outside, they are not ingesting chemical medications. There's a lot of factors here that they benefit so greatly to just taking that. But it helps, the vinegar does help with the detoxification process that stinging nettles has to offer. So I love that. I think it's awesome. And that to me relates to the chlorophyll concentration that is in the stinging nettles and the digestive stimulation. The really nettles, like, it's all around beneficial to all of your organs. You're getting the passive detox of chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is passive because it's not going to like make you poop your pants. You're not doing like a super active, super aggressive cleanse like a lot of things like wormwood might do, or fringe sage even for some people, or an activated charcoal cleanse. We're not really getting into the digestive system to strip it down to nothing. The chlorophyll that is in the nettles and the acid that is the sting of the nettles is what is helping your body to be activated to detox itself. So, chlorophyll helps to grab heavy metals and metabolic wastes out of our blood and take it to the liver to be then detoxified and excreted through the urinary tract. And then we have the acid in nettles, and I can never remember the name, so please don't make me do that. I really should get it solidified in my brain. How many times have I looked at it in a book? I don't know. But the acid that gives you the sting is essentially creating a homeopathic-like response in the body where like treats like. The same thing is giving the same issue, so say seasonal allergies, the allergic reaction that's essentially happening when you get stung by stinging nettles is creating the cure for that same issue of seasonal allergies when it comes to stinging nettles. So that's a lot of benefit, and you are getting, oh my gosh, see, my train of thought is not awesome today. So between the chlorophyll and the acid in the nettles, you're getting a huge detoxing and supportive system to your body in its elimination process of toxic experiences. And seasonal allergies, I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm changing my, I'm being disillusioned in so many things right now, and I'm not going to like totally go down that trail right now because it'd be a whole nother video in itself. But seasonal allergies are more related to an overly toxified system versus the exterior thing being what's attacking you. So nettles, again, going into your body, helping to detox metabolic waste, chemicals, things you're exposed to that you cannot control, is going to help you eliminate those things. And I would imagine that it's helping eliminate the water-soluble chemicals that we're exposed to versus the fat-soluble chemicals that we're exposed to, because it is so fast acting. And again, that's a whole nother spiel, and I'm not going to do it right now. But already we're 20 minutes in, and nettles can handle a lot for our bodies. So the nutrient, well, let's go to tincture real quick. So the tincture is what I do recommend and have historically recommended for the concentration of chlorophyll. And again, I use an 86% alcohol in my apothecary because it's enough for roots, and it's also not too much for plant material to go into to where you're going to like displace too many of the water solubles. So I have it blended for me custom. You can do the same. It's just find a distillery and you have to buy in bulk, and that's fine. But yeah. So when I make like nettle tincture, the 86% alcohol is displaced to be around 45% when all is said and done, the nettles are pressed. So that alcohol is not evaporating. It's in a very tightly sealed jar. That alcohol is being displaced by the chemicals that it is extracting from the plants. It acts as a solvent. It breaks up all of these phytochemicals. And when I was talking about like the stained jar, this happens with the alcohol tincture, not so much the vinegar extract. The alcohol tincture of nettles is black. You cannot see through it, even with my super bright LED light that I use to test the color variances in my tinctures. You cannot see through that thing. So, to get my test done correctly, I put it in a much smaller jar so that I can get the color spectrums. But yeah, that tincture is what I recommend for people who are detoxing, for people who are overly toxified, for someone who is puffy and inflamed and super, maybe they are finding the path of eating well for their body and beginning to understand that their waters are poisoned, beginning to understand that they've been toxifying themselves through modalities that are very, very mainstream and accepted widely. So someone who's trying to get away from that chronic inflammatory response, and someone who is chronically allergic to foods that are sprayed with chemicals and foods that are laden with ingredients and additives that are chemicals. So someone who's working to get themselves out of that situation, the nettle tincture is going to be super effective to help their body get all that water-soluble crap out of their blood, through their liver, to be excreted through their urinary tract. And that's something that people miss a lot in a detox, is having a plant or a substance that is going to actually facilitate the movement of these toxic wastes out of their bodies. And there's lots of substances. There's some, I'm learning about some that are very specific to fat-soluble substances. Nettles, like I said, I believe, I do not know based on research, this is just speculation of my experience, that the nettles helps to alleviate these water-soluble toxins that are floating around in our blood, that are floating in our beautiful sacred waters, that are crystalline structure within our bodies. Nettles is helping to detox all of that when the person is choosing and devoting themselves to not eating those things anymore. And I want to emphasize that because it is vital to any regimen of health. One must decide that they understand that certain substances are toxifying them, that they are putting into their bodies and eliminating them from their lives. There is a lot that we're exposed to that we cannot control, and we can mediate around those things. You know, like myself, I've eaten cleanly for 2 decades nearly. I still take nettles on a regular basis because of all of the crap that I'm exposed to that I cannot control, right? I live in conventional farmland. I stay inside when they're spraying, but it's still, there's residue everywhere. I make sure that my body and my family's bodies are protected by these things. But we also, you know, what they're spraying in our skies, who knows? Wyoming doesn't have a lot of that, thank goodness. The radiation issues of radio waves floating around everywhere. We mitigate that in our homes, but again, there's only so much you can control, and it's about making a plan. And nettles being a part of that plan for when you're on the beginning of that journey is vital. Eating them, taking them as extracts, doing all the things that you can so that the nettles are in your system is what we want to see happening for a successful cleanse and detoxification process. And that comes from the tincture. So, tincture, food, vinegar, tea. Tea is what I'm ingesting right now because I can't take there's lots of lore around nettles, and I love that. Yeah, let's do that. So, nettles is associated with Mars, a very like big energy, you know, isn't it Aries? I think it's Aries, so my husband. Big energy, like push everything forward, go, conquer, do all the projects all at once and do them excellently. Like that is the energy of nettles. And it is like, I am here to be your warrior. It holds that energy from its vibrational implant that comes from the universe. And I just love that because how much of what I've been talking about needs that kind of energy, right? It needs to flush through your body so that you are vitally vibrant and functioning as the divine being that you are. Nettles brings this to you energetically, and that is what's held in its water. That is what's held in its vibrational imprint that you are ingesting into your body. So I love that about the Mars piece. And what I also find very interesting, I have a few books that are like super old herbal books, and I love these ones because they have all of the folk lore that's connected to the plants. So nettles, the Romans would whip themselves with nettles before they went into battle because, again, that allergic response, that the acid that is when you get the sting, it is asking your circulation to just move outward and forward, and it creates an adrenaline rush when you expose yourself frequently, often, and like if you were to go roll around in your patch of nettles, you're going to get a super big burst of energy. You're also going to be itching and burning, so beware of that. But like, think if you were a Roman warrior going into battle, that would be a very useful energy to have. And then we know now, maybe they knew then, they probably knew then, the connection to Mars that nettles have. So you're infusing that kind of an imprint, that kind of a vibration into your body when you sting yourself. I notice it, not so much anymore. I guess I'm exposed to it a lot. I walk by it almost every day and get little like zings. I'm pretty used to it at this time. Be nice if it would give me some energy. But anyway, pregnant women should not take this plant fresh because of that energy that is going to pulse through your body. So another piece of lore is the old midwives, back when they were truly midwives, independent from any system, they would use fresh nettles to scare the baby out. So, not necessarily known in modern herbalism as a uterine stimulant, but I'm steering clear at this time of my fresh plant material extracts, and I'm drinking tea. It's in my pregnancy tea, and that's mostly for all the nutrients and circulatory enhancement and the passive detox from chlorophyll, because there's a lot of metabolic waste going on in a pregnant woman's body. Okay, so that's great and really good to know. And trying to think what else, where I was going with that. Like I said, I am very tired today. It's been 2 nights of this in a row, and I'm just pooped. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty complete video. And I really do appreciate you guys being here. And when I was at market last week, so many of you said you love my videos, and that's awesome. And if I could ask that you like and subscribe, share to your friends, because that's how I grow my message. That's how my business thrives in an online environment, beyond our beautiful community, which, again, for it to be prosperous and spread the message, I would like it to grow beyond our beautiful community in the way that it has here. And I love you guys so much. You can support my work through my online pharmacy offerings in the herb shop. I have tinctures, I have salves. Most of the teas are gone, but there are some select singles still hanging about, and Nettles will be one of those select singles. And I'm soon to be seeing clients again. I'm writing programs. I will have a whole entire downloadable library of protocols for herbal first aid. And herbal first aid is great because it's for acute. Sometimes chronic conditions can be addressed this way, but a lot of lifestyle stuff needs to happen too. So I will have that uploaded. I'm editing them right now. I'm editing my launch for my client books to be open, and that'll be online, and it will be soon. When we get the new building, I'll be able to see you guys here at the farm. So thank you for being here. And again, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Do all those YouTube things, and comment too, so I know what you guys love. Ask me questions. I love questions. I love dialogue with you guys who are plant people, who are not plant people, who are curious plant people. I love the dialogue because it helps the flow of energy move, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you.